This is a recording for new investors and experienced investors, or even people. I know a lot of people that have come into this professional single-family investing space from other businesses. They're professional analysts, they're professional acquisition fund managers, etc., who don't have any experience in this asset class. And so you're new too, right? So maybe this will be helpful. Cash flow is king. Cash flow is everything is one of the things that you'll hear from a lot of people, and I do not believe that they're correct in the way they're saying that. It is not everything. It is not the only thing. I've heard a lot of very smart, very successful people say it's the only thing, and that's bad advice. Cash flow is staying power. It's the second principle of real estate wealth, that cash flow is staying power. So when people say it means everything, what they mean is that you're able to wait out whatever you have to wait out if you've got time on your side. If you buy an asset and you are generating an income that covers the expenses and generates a profit, well, then you can wait out a decline in the market, which usually does not come. But even if it does, so what? You're making money along the way. Right? You're making money along the way. So you can wait out whatever comes if you have positive cash flow. Now, the ways that situation can be blown sometimes comes when you have a flipper's mentality who's dabbling in the idea of building a portfolio of rentals. A flipper mentality is mainly focused on how much of a spread can I make, how much can I buy a house less than it's worth, which unfortunately way too often includes somebody's getting screwed. But how can I buy something for much less than it's worth and then flip it or rent it out and make a profit? Like, there are people who see a deal. They get so blinded by a deal, right? I can buy this $400,000 house for $325,000, so they grab it. They never ask what they could rent it for, right? I'm going to buy this condo in Miami because the condo building is selling out, and I'm going to buy it, I'm going to flip it, or I'm going to hold it. I don't know. I'll figure it out later. Better find out what you can rent it for, and better find out what your expenses are going to be. Because I've seen people lose with beautiful pieces of property, great deals, because A, they couldn't flip it as quick as they thought they could, and they were sucking wind every month. I mean, I know people that bought condos in a building in White Plains, speculated on the condos, were going to flip them. The music stopped. They had nobody to flip it to. This had happened. This building had raised its prices 11 times, and people who bought early were selling them at the higher prices before that the building was even finished being constructed. That kind of nonsense is going to happen again. And the principle that they're breaking is the idea that cash flow is staying power, because some of those people bought these condos, found there was no buyer to flip it to. They were going to pay a commission to flip it. So they were in $1 million condo. They were in for 30, 40 grand in commission alone. They couldn't flip it, and it was costing them $5,000, $6,000 a month to carry it. I know somebody whose wife put it to him, like sell the condo or move into it, but I'm not doing this anymore, right? Cash flow is staying power. People in 2006 who bought at the peak, if they bought rental property at the peak, and it was positive cash flow rental property, if it yielded them even 5%, much less 6 or 7, they were fine. Their money was well parked right there. They couldn't get more than that in a savings account. You can't get more than that in bonds. You're lucky to get that in stocks, but you have to take some risk in stocks. You do more in stocks now, but you know what I mean. All right, 7% is perfectly fine. You've responsibly placed your capital someplace. And so what that the house you bought in 2006 for 400 grand is now worth 3? So what? I know it's a heartbreaker, right? I wrote my book Crash Boom at that time, well, a little later, 2009, to tell people who were walking away from houses, like, cut that out. If you can afford it, hang on to it. It's going to come back. Crash boom. After crash is going to come a boom. That sounds all second nature right now, but believe me, back then I was a very lone voice. I got on Fox News almost 100 times, Fox Business I should say, because I was the idiot willing to come on the air and say the housing market's not melting down. So anyway, if you're new to this, learn the calculations of cash flow. Know your net yield calculations. Gross rent minus vacancy rate equals effective rent. Effectively, what are you collecting? Minus your expenses, taxes, insurance, maintenance, property management, equals your net operating income. That's how much money you're going to make if you paid cash for the property every month in profit. And of course, if you have a mortgage, you have to cut that out of there to come up with what your final cash flow is. But you learn that calculation, you begin to look at houses and do that math, learn what the rental market is. I know a lot of real estate junkies that you point out a house in a neighborhood they're interested in, they'll tell you what it's worth. not professional realtors, but they'll tell you what it's worth. Find out what that house would also rent for. Learn those numbers. I know a lot of professional realtors who could tell you what the house is worth, but could not tell you what the house would rent for. And so therefore could never tell you what the house yields. And wouldn't it be cool to be the kind of person who could look at a neighborhood or a school district and say, that house is worth 200, it's probably a 6.25 yield. That just made you one of the biggest real estate experts in that town. All right, we'll teach you more about how to go and do research on the town beyond what meets the eye. But absorb the message, principle number 2, that cash flow is staying power, which is critically important, but it's not everything. So when I get into principle number 3, you'll see what I mean. There's more that you have to learn in terms of appreciation and leverage. The combination of cash flow plus appreciation plus leverage is where the wealth comes in. But the cash flow gives you the patience to wait it out. Thanks for listening.